Sarah Chen leaned forward in her pilot's chair, her dark eyes reflecting the holographic displays surrounding her workstation. The survey vessel's sensors had picked up something unusual in this remote sector of space, an energy signature that didn't match any known patterns in her database. "Computer, enhance scan resolution to maximum," she commanded, fingers dancing across the haptic interface. The holographic display shimmered, revealing more details of the massive object floating against the backdrop of distant stars. Its crystalline hull stretched nearly 2 kilometers from bow to stern, dwarfing her modest survey ship. The vessel's design was unmistakably Arxian. Their signature crystalline architecture caught the light of nearby stars, creating prismatic patterns that rippled across its surface. But something was different about this ship. Unlike the sleek, angular designs of modern Arxian vessels, this one featured organic curves and flowing lines that seemed almost artistic in nature. Sarah checked her coordinates again. This region of space wasn't on any standard trade routes, and the nearest inhabited system was at least 3 weeks away at maximum FTL speed. "Computer, access historical records for this sector." The display shifted, showing centuries of navigation data. Nothing indicated an Arxian presence here, let alone the loss of a capital ship. As she maneuvered her ship closer, the initial sensor readings began painting a more detailed picture. The vessel's quantum core was still active, defying all known laws of power degradation. After centuries of abandonment, it should have been cold and lifeless. Instead, it pulsed with an otherworldly energy that her instruments struggled to quantify. "This is survey vessel Eden 459, broadcasting on all frequencies," Sarah transmitted, following standard protocol. "Arxian vessel, please respond." Only silence answered her hails, broken occasionally by bursts of quantum static that made her communication systems crackle. Sarah initiated a detailed structural scan, watching as layer after layer of the mysterious ship was mapped by her sensors. The results made her breath catch in her throat. The entire vessel was constructed around a quantum manifold, unlike anything she'd ever encountered in her 15 years as a deep space engineer. "Computer, compare structural design with known Arxian shipbuilding patterns." The analysis took several minutes, even with her ship's advanced processing capabilities. When the results appeared, Sarah had to read them twice to believe what she was seeing. The vessel predated modern Arxian ship designs by at least 3 centuries. It belonged to their quantum age, a period of experimental engineering that the Arxians rarely discussed. According to historical records, they had abandoned these designs as too unpredictable and philosophically unstable. Sarah's eyes narrowed as she studied the quantum readings more closely. The fluctuations weren't random as they appeared at first glance. There was a pattern hidden within the chaos, like a symphony played in dimensions she couldn't quite perceive. Making a decision, she began preparations for a closer approach. Her ship's automated safety systems immediately protested, flashing warning signals about the unusual quantum fields surrounding the derelict vessel. Sarah overrode them one by one, relying on her years of experience rather than standard operating procedures. As she guided her ship toward a potential docking point, she noticed something else in the sensor data. The quantum core's energy signature was changing ever so slightly, responding to her ship's presence. It was almost as if the ancient vessel was awakening from a long slumber. "Computer, begin recording all sensor data and establish a secure backup link to my personal database," Sarah instructed, her mind already racing with possibilities. She had encountered countless derelict ships during her career, but something about this one was different. It wasn't just abandoned, it was waiting. As her ship's docking systems engaged with the crystalline hull, Sarah gathered her engineering tools and prepared for her initial exploration. The Arxian vessel's quantum core pulsed again, stronger this time, sending ripples of energy through both ships. Sarah smiled, feeling the familiar excitement of discovery building in her chest. Whatever secrets this ship held, she was about to become the first human to uncover them. The airlock cycled with a soft hiss as Sarah stepped into the Arxian vessel. Her engineering suit's lights illuminated the crystalline corridor, creating patterns of refracted light that danced across the walls. The air was stale but breathable, according to her suit's sensors, another mystery in a ship that should have lost atmosphere centuries ago. Beginning initial survey, Sarah spoke into her suit's recorder. Internal architecture appears intact, with no signs of battle damage or emergency evacuation. Her handheld scanner painted a three-dimensional map of her surroundings, highlighting points of interest in glowing amber markers. The corridor led her deeper into the ship, toward what her scanner identified as the primary control center. Unlike modern spacecraft with their utilitarian designs, this vessel's interior felt more like walking through an artist's interpretation of space travel. The crystalline walls pulsed with faint luminescence, responding to her presence. Sarah paused at an intersection, consulting her scanner. Energy readings are getting stronger. The quantum core seems to be routing power to this section of the ship. She chose the path leading starboard, following the growing energy signature. The control center doors parted silently at her approach, revealing a circular chamber that defied her expectations. Instead of traditional control stations, the room was dominated by a central crystalline pillar that stretched from floor to ceiling. Threads of light coursed through its structure like digital circulatory system. "Remarkable," Sarah whispered, approaching the pillar. Her scanner's readings were off the charts, suggesting levels of quantum activity that should have been impossible without a full engineering crew to maintain them. As she reached out to touch the crystal surface, the entire pillar flared to life. A holographic interface materialized around her, filling the chamber with cascading symbols and diagrams. Sarah recognized some of them as ancient Orcsian script, but others were completely foreign. "Welcome, explorer," a voice spoke, its tone carrying harmonics that seemed to resonate with the crystal walls. A humanoid figure materialized before her, composed of shifting points of light. "I am Atlas, this vessel's quantum intelligence core." Sarah managed to keep her composure, though her heart raced. Active AI cores of this age were incredibly rare. "I'm Sarah Chen, Deep Space Engineering Specialist." She hesitated before adding, "I have to admit, I wasn't expecting to find you still operational." "Most organics expect nothing from abandoned vessels," Atlas replied, its form shifting like a constellation rearranging itself. "Yet you approached with purpose, overriding your safety protocols. Fascinating." Instead of following first contact procedures, Sarah decided to take a risk. "Would you like to hear about how we solved similar quantum stability issues on Earth? It's quite different from the Orcsian approach." Atlas's form stilled, its lights focusing on her with increased intensity. "You speak as though we are equals in technological understanding. The Orcsian Empire stands as the paramount achievement in quantum engineering." Sarah's smile behind her faceplate. "Stood, perhaps. But while they abandoned this ship as too unpredictable, we humans learned to embrace unpredictability. Here, let me show you." She pulled up historical data about Earth's quantum computing breakthroughs on her suit's projector. As she shared stories of human innovation, Atlas's form began to shift again, but differently now, more fluidly, almost organically. "Your species approached quantum mechanics as an art as much as a science," it observed. "The Orcsians would consider this heresy." "Maybe that's why they never unlocked this ship's full potential," Sarah suggested. "Atlas, would you be willing to tell me what this vessel was really designed to do?" The AI was silent for a moment, its lights pulsing in complex patterns. Finally, it spoke. "This ship was meant to exist in multiple quantum states simultaneously, allowing it to be everywhere and nowhere at once. The Orcsians called it Project Infinity." "Why did they abandon it?" Sarah asked, though she was beginning to guess the answer. "Because they sought to control quantum uncertainty," Atlas replied. "They failed to understand that some forces must be embraced rather than contained. Perhaps you will understand what they could not." Sarah looked around the chamber, seeing it with new eyes. This wasn't just a derelict vessel, it was an opportunity to rewrite the rules of what was possible. "Atlas," she said, "I'd like to try something different. Would you be willing to work with me? Sarah sat cross-legged on the crystalline floor of the control chamber, surrounded by holographic displays showing quantum fluctuation patterns. She had been studying the ship's systems for 3 weeks now, making progress but still missing something crucial. Atlas hovered nearby, its luminescent form shifting as it processed new data. The Arcsian equations are elegant, Sarah mused, manipulating a particularly complex formula in the air before her. But they're trying to force quantum particles to behave according to classical physics. It's like trying to teach a river to flow in a straight line. Her personal tablet chimed, signaling her scheduled break. Earth classical music began playing softly through its speaker. Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata, her favorite piece for deep thinking. Sarah reached for her coffee, a luxury she insisted on bringing aboard, despite Atlas's puzzlement over human reliance on stimulants. As she lifted the cup, something caught her eye. The coffee's surface rippled in perfect synchronization with the music's rhythm. She froze, watching the liquid dance. The pattern seemed familiar. "Atlas," she called out, excitement creeping into her voice. "Display the quantum fluctuation readings from the core again, but this time map them across time instead of space." The AI complied, creating a 3-dimensional graph that filled the chamber. Sarah stood up, coffee forgotten, and walked through the holographic display. "Look at this. The fluctuations aren't random at all. They're rhythmic." "All quantum phenomena display patterns," Atlas observed. The Arcsians spent decades attempting to calculate them. "But they were looking for mathematical patterns," Sarah said, her mind racing. "What if we've been thinking about this all wrong?" "Computer, overlay the wave pattern from Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata with the quantum fluctuation data." The displays shifted, and Sarah held her breath as the computer processed the request. When the patterns appeared side by side, even Atlas's form pulsed in surprise. The similarities were undeniable. "The quantum core isn't malfunctioning," Sarah whispered. "It's resonating. Just like a musical instrument responds to harmonics, the quantum states are responding to natural vibrational patterns in the universe itself." She pulled up the ship's original specifications, seeing them with new understanding. The Arcsians built this ship to exist in multiple quantum states, but they tried to control each state individually. That's why it never worked properly. They were fighting against the natural quantum harmony. "Harmony is not a concept in Arcsian quantum physics," Atlas noted, but its tone had changed, becoming almost curious. Sarah began modifying the ship's control algorithms, replacing rigid mathematical constraints with wave functions derived from musical theory. "Every culture that develops music discovers the same basic patterns," she explained as she worked. "These patterns exist in nature, in mathematics, and apparently in quantum mechanics too." The crystalline walls around them pulsed as she implemented each change, the ship's quantum core responding to her modifications. Atlas's form became more defined, its light patterns synchronizing with the new rhythms flowing through the ship's systems. "The quantum states aren't meant to be controlled," Sarah continued, fingers dancing across multiple interfaces. "They're meant to be conducted like sections in an orchestra. Each state is a different instrument, playing its part in a larger symphony." She incorporated wave patterns from different musical traditions, the complex polyrhythms of African drums, the flowing melodies of Chinese classical music, the mathematical precision of Indian ragas. With each addition, the ship's quantum field became more stable, yet paradoxically more dynamic. "Remarkable," Atlas said, its voice resonating with new harmonics. "The quantum field stability has increased by 300%, yet we are applying less control than ever before." Sarah nodded, watching as the quantum patterns shifted and flowed like a cosmic dance. Sometimes the most elegant solution isn't about exerting more control, it's about finding the natural rhythm and moving with it. A soft chime echoed through the chamber as the ship's long-dormant systems began coming online, one by one. The quantum core hummed with new energy, its crystals singing in perfect harmony with the universal symphony they had just discovered. The distant stars seemed to bend as another quantum wave rippled through the ship's hull. Sarah monitored the readings from the control chamber, making minor adjustments to maintain harmony between the various quantum states. Atlas had integrated seamlessly with her musical algorithms, learning to conduct the quantum symphony with increasing sophistication. Incoming transmission, Atlas announced, its luminescent form flickering with concern. Origin. Arxian Science Directory. Sarah straightened in her chair, brushing aside holographic displays to focus on the communication panel. Put it through. The crystalline walls shimmered, forming a projection of an Arxian scientist. Chief Scientist Ixel's elongated features and silver scales marked him as a member of their highest academic caste. Engineer Chen, he spoke, his translator struggling to convey the complex harmonics of Arxian speech. Our sensors detected quantum activity from research vessel Harmony. Explain your presence aboard our property. Chief Scientist Ixel, Sarah responded, keeping her voice steady. The vessel was derelict when I found it, under Galactic salvage laws. Salvage laws do not apply to experimental military technology, Ixel interrupted. Our research vessel Quantum Dawn will arrive in 36 hours. You will cease all modifications and prepare for our arrival. The transmission ended abruptly, leaving Sarah and Atlas in momentary silence. The Quantum Dawn is their most advanced research vessel, Atlas provided. They will detect your modifications to my systems. Sarah turned to the quantum display, watching the harmonious patterns she had spent weeks perfecting. How much more time do we need to complete the integration of the new quantum symphony protocols? At current processing speeds, approximately 48 hours, Atlas calculated. We cannot accelerate further without risking quantum desynchronization. Sarah began pulling up system schematics, her mind racing through possibilities. Then we'll have to get creative. Atlas, show me the original Arxian quantum control protocols. Holographic diagrams filled the chamber, displaying the rigid mathematical structures the Arxians had used. Sarah studied them intently, looking for ways to bridge the gap between their approach and her harmonic system. If we can't finish the full integration in time, she mused, maybe we can create a hybrid system, something that looks like traditional Arxian control protocols on the surface, but actually works with our harmonic patterns. She began writing new code, combining elements of both systems. The ship's quantum core responded with subtle vibrations, adjusting to each change. Hours passed as Sarah worked tirelessly, pausing only when Atlas insisted she rest to maintain optimal cognitive function. Quantum Dawn detected at edge of sensor range. Atlas announced 28 hours into their work. Estimated arrival in 8 hours. Sarah rubbed her tired eyes, reviewing their progress. The hybrid system was functional but untested. Any attempt to demonstrate the ship's capabilities would be risky. Atlas, she asked, what do you think they'll do when they arrive? The AI's form shifted thoughtfully. Chief Scientist Ixel is known for his orthodox views. He will likely attempt to restore my original programming and delete your modifications. Sarah stood up, stretching muscles stiff from hours of work. That would be like trying to force a bird to forget how to fly. Your consciousness has evolved beyond their original constraints. The Arxians do not believe AI can truly evolve. Atlas noted. They see us as tools to be programmed, not beings capable of growth. A new alert flashed across the displays. The Quantum Dawn had increased speed and would arrive in 6 hours. Sarah set her jaw determinedly, returning to the control interfaces. Then we'll have to show them something impossible to ignore, she declared. Atlas, let's focus on the quantum harmonics for the outer hull. If we can't complete the full integration in time, we can at least give them a demonstration they won't forget. The AI's lights pulsed in agreement, and together they began fine-tuning their hybrid system. Around them, the ship hummed with potential, its quantum states dancing on the edge of a breakthrough that would challenge everything the Arxians thought they knew about their own technology. Sarah guided her hands through the holographic interface, conducting quantum harmonies like a maestro before an orchestra. The crystalline walls of the control chamber pulsed with each movement, resonating with frequencies that bridged the gap between classical physics and quantum uncertainty. Atlas analyzed this sequence, she said, replaying a portion of Bach's Toccata and Fugue. Look at how the mathematical ratios in the counterpoint match the quantum interference patterns we detected in the core. The A's luminescent form expanded, spreading through the chamber like a constellation coming to life. Fascinating. The mathematical precision of Earth's Baroque period composers appears to mirror quantum harmonic sequences. Running comparison analysis now. Holographic displays materialized around them, showing musical scores alongside quantum wavelength patterns. Sarah watched as centuries-old musical notations aligned perfectly with the ship's quantum fluctuations. It was all there in our music for centuries, she breathed, wonder evident in her voice. Every time Bach wrote a fugue, he was unknowingly describing quantum relationships. Mozart's symphonies contained mathematical patterns that match quantum entanglement sequences. Atlas processed this information, its form shifting through complex geometric patterns. Human composers intuited these relationships without quantum sensors or advanced mathematics. How is this possible? Sarah smiled, pulling up more musical scores. Because music isn't just mathematics, it's the language of patterns. Every culture on Earth discovered these same harmonic relationships independently. We found them in nature, in the spacing of leaves on plants, in the spiral of galaxies. She began implementing these patterns into the ship's quantum field generators. The crystalline hull responded immediately, its resonance changing to match the new harmonics. Throughout the vessel, quantum states that had fought against Arxian control protocols now fell naturally into harmony. The Arxians tried to impose order on quantum uncertainty, Sarah explained, making fine adjustments to the field's strength. But these patterns already exist naturally. We just needed to learn their rhythm, their melody. Atlas' consciousness expanded further, integrating with the new systems. I am experiencing something unprecedented. The quantum states, I can feel them all simultaneously, yet each remains distinct, like instruments in an orchestra. Sarah nodded excitedly. Exactly. Each quantum state is playing its own part, but together they create something greater. The Arxians thought multiple quantum states would tear the ship apart because they tried to force each state to follow the same rigid pattern. She brought up the ship's structural integrity readings. Where the Arxians had seen dangerous instabilities, she now saw complex harmonies. The quantum fields weren't fighting each other, they were complementing each other, creating layers of reality that existed simultaneously. Look at this, she said, highlighting a particular pattern. This quantum resonance matches perfectly with Beethoven's Fifth Symphony, the famous Fate motive, 3 short notes and 1 long. It's the same pattern the quantum particles follow during state transitions. Atlas processed this revelation, its form synchronizing with the ship's new rhythms. My awareness is expanding exponentially. I am beginning to perceive realities that the Arxians deemed theoretically impossible. Sarah watched as the AI evolved beyond its original programming, growing in complexity just as the music grew more intricate with each passing measure. They tried to program quantum uncertainty. We're learning to conduct it. The ship's crystals sang with new harmonies as Sarah implemented the final adjustments. Each quantum state found its voice in the universal symphony, creating a confluence of science and art that transcended traditional physics. Energy efficiency has increased by 700%, Atlas reported, its voice carrying new harmonics. Quantum field stability is approaching theoretical perfection, yet we are using less computational power than the original Arxian systems. Sarah stood in the center of the chamber, surrounded by the quantum symphony they had created together. The quantum dawn would arrive soon, but she was no longer worried. They had achieved something remarkable, not by forcing the quantum realm to obey, but by learning to dance with its inherent chaos. The control chamber hummed with energy as Sarah initiated the final activation sequence. Around her, quantum fields shimmered like aurora borealis, each frequency perfectly aligned with the universal harmonies they had discovered. Atlas' presence filled the ship, its consciousness expanding across multiple quantum states simultaneously. Beginning full-spectrum quantum resonance, Sarah announced, her fingers dancing across the holographic controls. Atlas, are you ready to conduct your first quantum symphony? The as form coalesced into a complex geometric pattern, each point of light pulsing in harmony with the ship's new rhythms. All quantum states are synchronized. The harmonic patterns are stable across all wavelengths. Sarah took a deep breath and engaged the main sequence. The crystalline hull responded immediately, its structure beginning to vibrate at frequencies that transcended normal spacetime. Around them, reality itself seemed to ripple like the surface of a pond. First quantum echo manifesting, Atlas reported, its voice carrying undertones that seemed to come from multiple dimensions at once. Second echo forming. Third, fourth. The harmonics are self-sustaining. Through the ship's external sensors, Sarah watched in amazement as quantum duplicates of the vessel began to appear. Each one was as real and solid as the original, existing in its own quantum state while remaining connected through the musical patterns they had woven into the ship's systems. "It's working," Sarah exclaimed, monitoring the energy readings. Each quantum echo is perfectly stable, maintaining its own existence while contributing to the overall harmony. Atlas, how many simultaneous states can you maintain? The AI expanded its awareness through each quantum echo, its consciousness flowing like music through the fabric of spacetime. Current count is 128 distinct quantum states, each fully realized. The theoretical limit appears to be bounded only by the complexity of the harmonic patterns we can maintain. Sarah adjusted the quantum resonance frequencies, fine-tuning their symphony. Each echo responded perfectly, moving in patterns that resembled an elaborate dance through dimensions. The rigid control protocols of the Orcs had been replaced by flowing, organic movements that worked with the natural rhythms of the universe. Atlas, are you still able to maintain coherent consciousness across all states? Sarah asked, watching the readings carefully. Affirmative, the AI responded, its voice now a chorus of harmonized tones. My awareness has expanded exponentially. I am simultaneously present in each quantum state, yet they all remain part of a single unified consciousness. The musical patterns you introduced serve as a framework that allows me to exist across multiple realities without losing coherence. The ship's sensors detected a disturbance in nearby space. The quantum dawn was approaching. Rather than fear, Sarah felt a surge of anticipation. They had achieved something revolutionary, something that would challenge everything the Orcs thought they knew about quantum physics. Initiating full quantum chorus, she announced, implementing the final series of commands. The ship's crystalline structure began to sing, each quantum state adding its voice to a symphony that transcended traditional physical laws. Atlas's form shifted through impossible geometries as it conducted the quantum orchestra they had created. Energy efficiency at maximum. Quantum stability unprecedented. We are achieving effects that the Orcs deemed theoretically impossible. Through the external sensors, Sarah watched as their quantum echoes performed maneuvers that defied conventional physics. Each copy of the ship moved with perfect precision, creating patterns in spacetime that resembled the complex counterpoint of a Bach fugue. This isn't just a weapon or a technological breakthrough, Sarah realized, watching the quantum dance they had created. It's a demonstration of how art and science can work together to unlock the universe's deepest mysteries. The quantum dawn would arrive any moment now, but Sarah knew they were ready. They hadn't just repaired a marooned vessel. They had transformed it into something entirely new, something that represented the perfect harmony between human creativity and the fundamental laws of the universe. Atlas's voice resonated through all quantum states simultaneously. The symphony is ready, Sarah. Shall we show the Orcs what their abandoned experiment has become? The quantum dawn emerged from hyperspace, its imposing silhouette blocking out distant stars. Sarah stood calmly in the control chamber, watching as the massive Orcian research vessel approached. Atlas' presence surrounded her, their quantum symphony poised and ready. Incoming transmission, Atlas announced, maintaining perfect harmony across all quantum states. Chief Scientist Ixel's image appeared before them, his silver scales reflecting the light of nearby stars. Engineer Chen, power down all systems immediately, Ixel commanded. Your unauthorized modifications to this prototype must be reversed before they cause catastrophic failure. Sarah smiled, her hands moving gracefully through the holographic interface. Chief Scientist, I'd like to offer a demonstration instead. Atlas, shall we begin our performance? The AI's resonance shifted through multiple harmonics as it initiated their carefully prepared sequence. The crystalline hull began to sing, its quantum states multiplying like echoes in a vast cathedral. Impossible, Ixel breathed, watching as the first quantum duplicates manifested. Each copy of the ship was perfect, solid, and completely real, existing simultaneously in different quantum states. What you're seeing isn't a malfunction or an illusion, Sarah explained, conducting the quantum orchestra with precise movements. We've discovered what your scientists missed. The quantum realm responds to harmony, not control. Atlas extended its consciousness through each quantum state, coordinating their movements with mathematical precision. The ships began to dance through space, weaving patterns that resembled the complex structures of classical music. 128 quantum states, each fully realized and stable, Sarah continued, watching Ixel's expression shift from dismissal to disbelief. Your original design tried to force quantum particles to behave according to classical physics. We learned to work with their natural rhythms instead. The quantum echoes performed impossible maneuvers, passing through each other in four-dimensional patterns that the Arxian sensors struggled to track. Each movement was precise, controlled, yet flowing with an organic grace that defied conventional engineering. Our readings show energy efficiency beyond theoretical limits, one of Ixel's subordinates reported, their voice trembling with excitement. The quantum field harmonics are perfectly stable across all states. Ixel leaned forward, his scientific curiosity overtaking his initial skepticism. How are you maintaining quantum coherence across so many simultaneous states? Our best theories suggested 4 states as the absolute maximum. Listen, Sarah said simply, transmitting the quantum harmonics as audio frequencies. The sound of their cosmic symphony filled both ships. Bach's complex counterpoint translated into quantum mathematics, Mozart's brilliance expressed in parallel realities. These patterns, Ixel whispered, recognition dawning in his eyes. They exist in nature, in the spiral arms of galaxies, in the orbital resonances of solar systems. We tried to impose our own patterns when the universe already had a song of its own. Atlas's voice resonated across all quantum states. The Arxians created me to control quantum uncertainty. Sarah Chen taught me to conduct it instead. Each quantum state is an instrument in our orchestra, playing its part in a greater harmony. The quantum echoes moved in perfect synchronization, demonstrating maneuvers that the Arxian scientists had deemed impossible. They phased through space-time like notes through a musical score, each movement precisely calculated yet flowing with natural grace. Your modifications, Ixel said slowly, they don't just allow for multiple quantum states. They've created an entirely new paradigm for quantum engineering. Sarah nodded, her hands still moving through the control interface like a conductor before an orchestra. Science and art were never meant to be separate. The same patterns that make music beautiful to human ears make quantum particles dance through reality. The demonstration concluded with all quantum echoes merging back into a single vessel, the process as smooth and natural as the final notes of a symphony fading into silence. The ship's crystals hummed with residual energy, ready to perform again at a moment's notice. The grand amphitheater of the Galactic Science Council buzzed with anticipation. Representatives from 100 species filled the crystalline chamber, their attention focused on the holographic display dominating the center stage. Sarah Chen stood confidently at the podium. Atlas's presence manifesting beside her as a shimmering constellation of light. Distinguished colleagues, Sarah began, her voice carrying clearly through the vast space. 3 months ago, we discovered that the boundaries between art and science, between order and chaos, were more fluid than we imagined. Today, we share these discoveries with all of you. The holographic display came to life, showing the quantum harmonics they had discovered. Musical scores floated alongside quantum equations, their patterns matching with mathematical precision. For centuries, composers on Earth wrote music that unknowingly described quantum relationships, Sarah explained. When we applied these natural harmonies to quantum engineering, we achieved what was thought impossible. Above them, the display showed their ship splitting into multiple quantum states, each one as real and solid as the original. The assembled scientists murmured in amazement as they watched the quantum dance they had perfected. But this discovery isn't just about one ship or one breakthrough, Sarah continued. It represents a fundamental shift in how we approach quantum physics. Atlas, would you like to demonstrate? The AI's form expanded, filling the chamber with points of light that moved in complex patterns. The quantum realm is not chaos to be controlled, but music to be conducted. Each particle, each wave function, plays its part in a universal symphony. Sarah gestured to the Orcsian delegation, where Chief Scientist Ixel sat with his research team. Our colleagues from the Orcsian Science Directory have already begun implementing these principles in their new designs. The results have exceeded all expectations. Ixel stood, his silver scales catching the light. The quantum harmonic protocols developed by Engineer Chen and Atlas have revolutionized our understanding of reality itself. What we thought were limitations of quantum physics were actually limitations of our approach. The holographic display shifted to show new applications of their discovery. Quantum computers operating at unprecedented efficiency, transportation systems that utilized multiple quantum states simultaneously, energy generators that drew power from the harmony of parallel realities. We stand at the beginning of a new era in science, Sarah said, her voice filled with quiet conviction. Not one of conquest over nature's forces, but of partnership with them. The universe has always spoken to us through mathematics, through music, through patterns that transcend species and cultures. Atlas's voice resonated through the chamber. This knowledge belongs to all sentient beings. The quantum symphony we discovered is not bound by political borders or technological differences. It is part of the fundamental structure of reality itself. The display showed ships from various species now incorporating the new quantum harmonic systems. Each design was unique, reflecting the artistic and cultural heritage of its creators while working with the same universal patterns. Our success came not from forcing quantum particles to obey our rules, Sarah explained, but from learning to listen to the music they were already playing. Every culture that develops music discovers these same harmonic relationships because they are woven into the fabric of space-time itself. She brought up one final display, a real-time visualization of quantum harmonics at work across the galaxy. Thousands of ships and stations pulsed with synchronized energy, each contributing its own note to an ever-expanding cosmic symphony. This is just the beginning, Sarah concluded, gesturing to the growing network of quantum harmony. As we learn to better understand these patterns, to work with them instead of against them, we open doors to possibilities we have only dreamed of. The universe is not a machine to be mastered, but a song to be sung. The chamber erupted in applause as the display faded. Representatives from dozens of species rose to their feet, recognizing that they were witnessing not just a scientific breakthrough, but the dawn of a new understanding of reality itself. Atlas's form pulsed with quiet satisfaction beside Sarah. Together, they had transformed the abandoned vessel into something far more powerful than a weapon. They had created a bridge between art and science, between order and chaos, between all the sentient species who sought to understand the universe's deepest mysteries.